absolutely delighted to welcome to Plugged TV, Tim Witherspoon, chapter 1 of an incredible legacy, and we are starting right at the beginning. So, good evening, Tim. How are we?
I'm all right. Terrible Tim.
Terrible Tim, that is what I love.
Okay.
Terrible Tim started a long time ago. So this is really an introduction to show the viewers your story from the beginning to where it is right now. And obviously it's been a lengthy journey, lots going on in that time. So, you came into this world, what year? Where were we?
I was born in 1957 in a street in Philadelphia on the street. The street that I was born on was 7th and Emily. And then we moved on to Whitten Street. And that's where I really can remember a lot of stuff. I don't remember 7th and Emily, but in South Philadelphia. But I remember Whitten Street. That's the next street I was raised up in. My first friend was some white kid named Michael. I can remember his name. And I think that his mother stopped letting him play with me because I think he bumped his head, and that was it. But we played for a while, and then he bumped his head, and then I remember these things. And his mother, he didn't. I haven't seen him since then.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
So, and obviously you're quite a sporty kid. You did lots of sport.
Yeah. Well, I'm the fourth oldest of 10 kids. Well, I have 8 brothers and sisters from my mother, and then my father had two other brothers, a brother and a sister. I don't know. We grew up in a 3-bedroom house with all the kids.
So you learned how to scrap for food pretty early on, yeah?
I waited at the right in front of the kitchen. I used to be there every day waiting for the food. There was 8 of us.
Amazing.
So yeah, and we had to share beds. I had to share a bed with one of my brothers one year. Then I had to share a bed with the other brother. Then I had to share a bed. And then as we got older and the older brothers moved out, we all could get our own beds. That's how it was. It was 8 of us. And my mom cooking. We all had to wait. I was right near the kitchen waiting for the food to get done every day. They used to tease me about it. My brothers, my siblings.
So can you remember some early childhood memories, and then obviously as you grew up a little bit older and obviously sporting, and I mean boxing for you, when did you really know that you wanted to be was that later on? Was that a bit further on?
Yeah, it is further on, but when I was young I had uncles, the Witherspoon boys. They used to be around in the neighborhood boxing to the body. None of them ever went and pursued a career in boxing, but during that time, everybody used to box in the body in the streets and stuff like that. And they were known for to be some hard punching brothers. Galloway, Toot, O'Neill, my father, Charles, Henry, and I had one uncle that passed away. They all used to be in the street boxing.
Okay, wicked. So did you ever mess around with your brothers? Obviously, your other siblings, did you ever sort of scrap around, or you all stuck together?
No, we never did boxing. We did other sports like baseball, football. Matter of fact, there was our mentor was a man by the name of Tom Wade. He was religious, very religious. We would go to church. He would make sure that he knew all my uncles and everybody. Everybody respected him because he was a real nice person. And he would take us to the park. He would teach us baseball, football, but never boxing. All I knew is I seen people boxing like to the body and stuff like that, but boxing was never entered into our lives until I got older.
Okay. All right. So skipping on a few years.
Okay.
Then obviously you got into it and obviously went through schooling and any interesting stories that you look back upon and you think, you know what, that may have made a difference.
Well, this you have to have the history about a lot of things. When we traveling through my life and everybody's life, you have some things that people would like to know. Like every day when we went to school, we had to be careful. This has nothing to do with, does have a lot to do with what's going on now, but we had to go and go in bunches together. We couldn't go to school by ourselves or else you'd get hurt. We had to go to school together or either with your parents. If you're late for school, you might as well stay home. If you're late getting out of school, you have to stay afterwards, you better run home. So, when I was little, racism was really a major aspect in everybody's lives in my neighborhood where we lived. And at a certain time, 5 o'clock, you couldn't go outside the neighborhood. There's a boundaries. Yeah, you couldn't go outside and they wouldn't come in. We're talking about people not of color, so we had to grow up with fear going to school, fear coming home, all that type of thing.
The only experience I've ever had of that in my entire life personally was down in South Africa, and yes, not great.
You're South African.
No, I'm not South African. No, I'm English. I say I've been to South Africa.
Oh, okay.
So I played a bit of Sunshine Tour down there, and yeah, that opened my eyes up. That was a different world.
Yeah. And like when we was young, a lot of this stuff happened. And then when I got older, and we'll get into everything, a lot of my friends, they used to call us certain names. I was getting apologies. We were more friends. They knew that it was wrong. And some of my white friends today, they really feel bad about the past. Some of them, and they talk, I'm good friends with a lot of them. And I always was, even though it might call me a name, I still was friends with them the next day, but I would just watch myself. We still was cool. We got called a name and forgot about it. But then the same person we were friends with.
I mean,
yeah.
We spoke, obviously a little bit before this, and you mentioned about the good values in which you've been brought up on, and obviously still to this day, and it doesn't really matter what ethnic background you've got, what color, creed, religion. You've lived by that. You've obviously been around so many people, and sport has kept you on such a straight vision line and opened you up to an incredible mindset. But back in those early days, before you were even a boxer, you knew what was right and wrong. Yeah.
Yes, I did, because one thing that really helped us too was hearing stories about when my mom was growing up. My mom was from the South, and my grandmoms and stuff, they was from down south, like South Carolina, where racism was really all over the country. And I used to hear stories. What made me strong was I used to hear stories about when, like, I had an uncle that got lynched. They got lynched down south. I had my grandfather, Jacob Lohman, was a sharecropper. He would go from state to state. Real quick, my mom said I had a great uncle that worked in this white people house, and jewelry went missing. Real quick, jewelry went missing, so they couldn't find the jewelry. They thought he took it, so they hung him. And then they found the jewelry about 4 days later. The same jewelry that he's supposed to allegedly take, they hung him and he died, and they killed him over that. And so stories like this, there's a lot of blacks, they'd be like, wow, these are some fantastic stories we're hearing, and this would make you stronger. Not to be racist, but to try to do better in life, because we know we got all these things, and not to be mad at everybody that's not your color, because they didn't have nothing to do with it. So there's just there's certain amount of people that has this attitude, they want to hurt people and all that. And I learned at a young age. But I love to hear them stories when my mom used to talk about down south, and she still tells them today. And I look forward to going over to listening to them.
Amazing. And you also mentioned your great, was it your great grand or your grand?
Grandma Fanny.
So she was a big inspiration.
She was fire. Let me tell you something. Yup, every time I go to a fight, and we're going to get to everything, and everybody going to love our story, I call my grandmother. I don't call no tough guy. I don't call my father. I don't call a man. I called my grandmother before every fight, and she get on the phone, she was like, she suck her mouth, she'd go, Timmy, you better not come on, no loser. She said, You better knock that boy out. Don't you ever come home losing. You come home, I'm going to kick your behind. He said, Timmy hit that boy so hard, you know, and like I would call her every time before the Bruno fight, before the Larry Holmes fight. I wouldn't call my father. I wouldn't call my mom. I call my mom sometimes, but I call my grandmom. And that's how I got my energy. You know, amongst everybody else, I call Grandma Fanny, it was over. I'm ready to rumble. Yes.
I love that. I mean,
She was from South Carolina too.
cool. So, I mean, how many times did you go home and tell her the positive story? Yeah, pretty much most of them.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
How many times, like, did you call her and you won?
Every fight.
Every fight.
Every fight. That was like a superstitious thing. Also, since I started calling her and stuff, I just kept on. But she always fired me up. You better not come home lose no fight. Timmy, don't you come home. And I would call her, nobody else. I would call my grandmom and get that pep, and then I would go into the fights.
That's amazing. That is so cool. That is so cool.
They used to call her Gang War Fanny. Serious. Everybody in the neighborhood called her Gang War Fanny because she wouldn't take no stuff from nobody. Then I had another grandma, my grandmom Liz. She's from South Carolina too. She's from down in Carolina. That's my father's side. But Fanny was on my mother's side. She wasn't on the Witherspoon side. She was on my mom's side. That's the Lomans, and the Bennetts.
That's cool. I like that. That's a wicked tale, that one. So obviously you turned pro. What year? I mean, you had a few amateur belts and fights, and then what year was it you turned pro, Tim?
I turned pro in '79, but before that, you know, I know we're gonna do that. Go get to that in episodes. I was playing football in college, and I got hurt, and then I came home, and a lot of my friends were boxing, and I said, well, hey, I might as well try that because I was grooming to be a professional football player, and it didn't work out, and I came home. And they were boxing. Buster Drayton, Earl Hargrove, they both were champions. Kenny Reese, Brandy, I forgot Brandy's last name. My brother Anthony. There was some people in the neighborhood in the boxing. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it too.
So did you always think sport was always going to be sport for you? It was obviously initially football. Was it always going to be sport, no matter what?
Yeah, and yes, sports we were groomed into that. But I wish education and intellect stuff would have been in my life also. A lot of people didn't concentrate on that when we were little. Now that we know that it's very important to go to school and learn everything you possibly can, that's what I emphasize now to my children. That's more important than playing sports and everything. So my father and mother had to work. Times were hard, and it was hard for them to get us educated. Although there was a lot of other black families, parents teaching them. But my father and mother, they had both had to work, and it was kind of hard for them to do that also, like give us the education. So we did what we had to do. The kids did. I made it all the way to 12th grade, and I graduated.
Wicked. And then, I mean, so who was your team? Who's your football team? We haven't mentioned that. Who do you support?
I was born. Matter of fact, I wasn't too far from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
The Philadelphia, yeah. I was born right near the stadium, not too far from the football stadium. South Philly is right near the airport, and that's right near the football stadium. So we in baseball, when you hear a guy hit a home run, we hear the big cannon go off, boom, in South Philly. So in South Philly, there were a lot of Italians. There was an Italian neighborhood. There was an Irish neighborhood. And there was a population of Jewish people. And we interacted in all the neighborhoods. But at my age, it was like fear. If you go into an Irish neighborhood, you had to worry about getting killed. Or if you go into the Italian neighborhood, you had to worry about it. And like I said, we didn't go in after a certain time, and they didn't come out. So it was really crazy when I was young, growing up.
And do you think some of those? I mean, you've seen some things in your life, right? And sport, you chose sport. It's kept you on the straight and narrow. It's kept you dedicated. It kept you focused. Kept you aligned.
Yes.
The stuff that you have seen. I mean,
I was too scared. I was too scared to do bad stuff for some reason. There's people that go out there and do bad things and all that. If I seen a fight, I wouldn't go towards the fight. There's a lot of people, they see fights, they go towards it. But if I was being attacked, I would protect myself. But for some reason, I didn't want to go over to fights and be around a lot of violence. I was scared of it.
And it's it's because you're a good man, eh? It's because you're a good man.
Yeah, I was just scared, and a lot of us was.
And then obviously you've grown into this champion. You've grown into the man that you are today.
Yes.
And there's a lot of stories which we're going to cover over the next chapters. But those early years, do you really feel that they've aligned you and they conditioned you for what is next to come in your life story?
Talking about the becoming champion.
Indeed.
I really didn't know what direction I was going to go in. I just like sports. So when I went into the gym, what happened was there was this number writer named Mr. Bishop, we called him. And he saw us, he knew we played sports. And he was like, hey, I got some guys at the Old Passyunk Gym, as they called it. The Old Passyunk Gym that I think I can get you hooked up with somebody. Because there was several other boxers, training. So we waited for them, then we couldn't find them. So we went to the gym. Buster Drayton, who's a junior middleweight champ at one time, he said, Tim, why don't you, come on up to this gym? You want to box? He was older than me by a couple of years. And I said, yeah. So me and my friend Keith Davis, who lived in my block, my best friend at the time, and he was my best friend, even though I was friendly with everybody else and close to everybody. Keith was like, we was like the outcasts. Nobody wanna, they hang with us, but then they left us. Then it was just me and him and maybe one other guy. We was like the not want to be guys to be around. We went to the gym and we went with Buster Crab. Well, Crab, we went to the gym with him, Buster Drayton, and that's where we started our boxing career. I went in and we picked the wrong trainer, really. When we learned later down the line, we picked the wrong guy. We just went to this guy, and Clarence Booker was his name. And that's how our career got started.
Nice.
But he wasn't with us after a while. You'll learn as we go into these conversations, or this time or the next time, what really happened with me and Clarence Booker. He was an old guy.
Well, that's the start, my friend, and I know there's going to be so much more to come, and I know that I'm looking forward to finding out a little bit more about this hard-hitting, gritty, true story of yours, and I'm sure that the viewers are also going to be looking forward to it as well. So thank you very much for the introductions, and we will look forward to seeing you online very, very soon.
Thank you. And I think that my story is just like a lot of other stories, but I know there's a lot of people that really would like to know about this young man that grew up with one of 10 siblings, and sure they would know about a lot of other people, a lot of other sportsmen and other people that made it. But my particular story is really something that they should listen to. I appreciate you wanting to get involved with this and let people know the truth. Because all these years, I've been giving stories out, and now I got an opportunity to really relax and give people what really happened down to the T. So I appreciate you offering me the chance to let everybody know really what really happened, and I'm gonna give them a true story.
It's, as I say, I'm delighted, and Plug TV, I tee it up, you smash it. So that's what so okay, Tim. Well, that's been wicked. I'm gonna do a little bit more research on you, and we will be back very, very soon for chapter number 2. So stay tuned, everybody.
Thank you very much.